a big weakness in Westernkind. That weakness is ethnicities. It is simultaneously a beautiful thing, a strength in other ways. It is a weakness when we put the ethnicity ahead of our biospirit. The biospirit, you may think of it as instinct. Every animal has one. This is my opinion. You can check with your local university and purple-haired biologist. I know she'll give you the right answers. Or, of course, CNN. Every animal has an instinct, and different breeds or races, different divisions, the instinct varies. You can see this among dogs and hyenas and various in rhinos. Everywhere else you can see this. In a intelligent creature, the more intelligent, the more complex the projection of their instinct onto their environment. The aggregate of that projection onto the environment of a people is what we call culture. White people, Westmen, M-A-N and M-E-N, Westernkind, project Western culture onto our environments. That is the key to understand, in my opinion, that is the key to understanding the differences in the peoples on planet Earth. None of those peoples are better than any others. None of those cultures are better than any others. There is no cosmic metric stick to say this is better or that is better. Every people, in my opinion, feel more harmony with their culture because what's inside of them is reflected back at them by their culture. White people, Westmen, Westernkind, whether they are from the UK or Eastern Europe or Southern Europe or Northern Europe, and then out in the world that we have traveled, produce Western civilization by way of that instinct. Again, in my opinion, we see that that's why no white people ever showed up at an island somewhere or a landmass and then reproduced Asian culture, reproduced Arab culture. It has not happened. The same holds true for all of the peoples. People are able to imitate the behavior of others, just like I could move to China and imitate the behavior of the Chinese. I could never produce Chinese culture. I could imitate it. And then what happens is the reason why I could just imitate, and I would imitate, is because there are 1 billion plus of them and there's one of me. I am numerically diffident in China. However, if more and more white people start moving in, and I'm just like, we're like riding around town and there's like 20 of us in a car and all the females are pregnant, and then all the females who are pregnant with baby girls are also, those baby girls automatically pregnant. They come out pregnant. So we're just like, the Chinese are like, there goes the neighborhood as we drive by. And more of us pour in, and more of us are reproducing. We will get to a point where we are numerically confident, courageous. We feel strong about ourselves. We feel insulated against the Chinese number. It's called numerical courage. At that point, I won't have to keep imitating the Chinese anymore, their wonderful culture. And I mean that sincerely. I won't have to imitate their wonderful culture anymore. I will begin producing what's natural for me because I'm insulated. That will begin changing the environment for the Chinese. Now, I said all that to make clear that we have, as Westmen, men, women, children, a projection born out of an instinct, born out of our biospirit. Again, all of this in my opinion. And remember, I'm an entertainer. The ear is against the door, and you need to check with CNN. That being the case, we have in the West subtle differences in Western culture. Subtle. These are the hues in this beautiful tapestry of Western civilization. I can go to Eastern Europe. I can look at the buildings there. I can look at the literature. I can look at the norms and expectations. And there will be a couple of little differences, but otherwise I'm able to just move right into it because it's all the same thing that's in me. I don't have to imitate it. I could begin producing it. These differentiations, these subtle hues, over time, rubbed up against each other in ethnic conflict. Ethnicity, race, plus, that's in this case, the subtle difference of hue in Western civilization's culture. And you have petty chieftains and petty lords and petty kings and petty cures, etc. And they decide for their own wealth and enrichment and empowerment that they, by the way, just as an aside for education purposes, using anti-whiteism, which is slandering the sons of our mother across an invisible line in another Western country, saying they're dumb, they're less intelligent, they're bestial, they're animalistic, they are less than us in every other way, rallied these people up, and then took them to war against our brothers and sisters again and again. And over time, you have these animosities that have been built up, like the animosity that still exists in some places between white people born in the Northeast and white people born in the Southland of the United States. Those animosities, those ethnic animosities, prevent us from coming together as a single people. We don't lose our individual identities. In going free, the prerequisite is that all of our individual identities will be magnified as we acknowledge that we are a single people with many countries, because it is instinctual, it is natural for Westmen to want that variety, to relish in that variety, to enjoy that variety. That's one of the ways that anti-whites victimize us. They know that instinctually we enjoy that variety. Look at all of the different hues of hair and skin and eye in the white race. We enjoy the variety. We want more of the variety. So anti-whites use that against us. And they say, we'll give you some diversity, which actually reduces the diversity, which with every new non-white person they bring into Western civilization. So when we are confronted with, when I have been confronted with white people who want to put their ethnicity ahead of our people, that unifying bond ahead of our people, I point out to them how our ethnicities have been used against us. First of all, by petty chieftains in our own ranks. Not saying, I will make sure that they understand that your grievance, your historic grievance may be totally legitimate. But petty chieftains put their enrichment, their empowerment, etc., ahead of our people. And that's how this has come to us today. And so Westernkind is a term that we use in this community to identify that common thread that unites us. You might not like it, you might not use it, but for the purpose of our conversation, to understand what I'm telling you, this is the word that we use to identify the common thread among all white people. Westman is the same way. When I share it like that, they accept, okay, yes, your community uses this word, and I accept, at least for the purpose of this conversation, and then for all time, that your community uses this word to represent that. When you do this, you are backing into the door of bringing them over to the use of our lexicon and dialectics. You then get to talk about how ethnicities are problematic. First, because of putting the ethnicities first is problematic. First, because of the petty chieftains, then because of the anti-whites. Look at what happened in World War I and World War II. The same thing would happen with a World War III or IV or whatever if we continue to put ethnicities ahead of that unifying identity, Westernkind, Westman. It is on that if we say no more, this far, no more, that no, in no area can we be aggrieved by anti-whites, in none. And so use that in the conversation, and then you'll find that when they go to speak about the points that you are making, they will be using Westernkind, Westman. And they'll hold on to and also point out, like I pointed out, that this is an important subject. That's why I felt to cover. We're going to get in this right now. That's why I wanted to cover it briefly. Make sure to point out as well that to go free presupposes that we're going to magnify the hue and the depth of these ethnicities. And in fact, in that process, and for the reasons I gave, and in fact, in the process of that, we will discover that each one of these ethnicities is composed of another tapestry of very distinct, maybe you'll call them sub-ethnicities. Mark my words. And then get back to us and let us know how it is going.